This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Baruchim Abayim, welcome everyone to a special edition of Old Parsha on Parshas Va'eschanan, the Ramban on Parshas Va'eschanan. Let's go straight to the Ramban on the subject of Shema Yisrael, which is one of the very fundamental sections of the Torah. And the Ramban begins by introducing a principle that he's spoken about a number of times, and that is the role of Mishnah Torah, the role of Sefer Devarim, is often to explain mitzvos that had already been given earlier in other parshios. And here again, the Ramban uses this principle. Says the Ramban, Shema Yisrael Hashem Lekeinu Hashem Echad, Perek Vav, Pasuk Dalet, Gam Zu Mitzvah Sheyavar. This too is a mitzvah that Moshe explains in greater depth here. Ki B'dibur Anoichi Hashem Lekecha. In the mitzvah of Anoichi Hashem Lekecha, Yeh HaYichud. That mitzvah includes implicitly the mitzvah of God's unity, that there is one God. Now, just because God said, I am Hashem who took you out of Egypt, how does that show that there is one God? U'chamaisha amru, like the Chachamim say in the Mechalta, Rabbi Glatstein says, Mikan tshuva laminin, this is a refutation to the Apikarsim, Shehein Oimrim, that they would say, Shtei Rishuyas, and there are two domains and two jurisdictions in the world. Why? How does Anochi Hashem Lekecha dismiss that there's more than one God? Sheksha'amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu al Har Sinai, when the Almighty stood on Sinai, V'amar, and he said, Anochi Hashem Lekecha, Mi micha kenegda. No one protested. If there was, heaven forbid, another God, so when God said, I am the Lord who took you out of Egypt, so that other deity should have said, well, what do you mean? There should have been a contestation. It should have been contested. So therefore, Anochi Hashem Lekecha implicitly encompasses the mitzvah that there's one God. So now Moshe is coming to explain that. Avo ba levara mitzvah zu. Here in the pasuk, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Lekeinu, Hashem Echad, Moshe is elaborating, and he's saying explicitly, Anochi only implies there's one God, because from the fact that nobody protested when Hashem said, I am God. And now Moshe is coming to say it explicitly, and he does so in the aftermath of the Aser Sadebrois, v'hizgir oisa achar Aser Sadebrois. He mentions it after the Ten Commandments, lefi shehi shoyresh ba'emuna, because it is a tenet in belief. V'chamisha eno moideba, anyone who doesn't acknowledge it, koifer be'ikr, denies Hashem's existence, ka'oived avodah zara, like somebody who worships idols. So, in the upshot is Shema Yisrael is a explicit summary of what was already included earlier on in the Parsha of implicitly of Anochi Hashem Lekecha. Now the Ramban explains, what does it mean? V'ahavtais Hashem Lekecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'oidecha. What does it mean to love God with all your heart? What does it mean to love God with all your soul? And what does it mean b'chol me'oidecha? Says the Ramban, Al das HaMedrash, based on the opinion of the Medrash and the Sifri, Halev HaNizkar Kan, the heart mentioned here, Hu HaKoyach HaMasava, is the force of desire. Love God with all your desires. Inyan Shenemar, Ta'avas Liboy Nasatolay, like it says in Tehillim, the desire of his heart he gave to him. So we see a heart is associated with desire. Or al tachmoid yafya bilvavecha, do not desire her beauty in your heart. So we see the heart is the seat of desire. So b'chol levavcha therefore refers to with all your desire. So then what does b'chol nafshecha mean? Imkain says Ramban, b'chol nafshecha, according to the Medrash, b'chol nafshecha would have to mean hanefesh hamaskelas. B'chol nafshecha would have to mean the rational soul. V'chein, and a proof that nefesh refers to the seicha. V'hoisa nefesh adoinit rura b'sar hachayim. Abigail says to David, the soul of my master should be bound up in the bonds of life, referring to the ability of rational thinking. However, Chazal in the Gemara learn b'chol nafshecha does not refer to the seichel. Rather, b'chol nafshecha refers to one's life. Because Chazal darshan from here in the Gemara and Brachos that there are certain mitzvos you have to be yehareg ve'al yavar. You have to be killed and not violated. Chadivrei Razal, according to Chazal, Shadarshin beGemara, that they darshan in the Gemara, Mikanye Hareg va'al Yavar. From here we learn that one should be murdered and not violate. So then, Nafshecha refers to life, and Bechol then is extra. Because what do you mean with all of your life? You're either alive or you're not alive. You can't serve God. Either you have to give up your life or you don't have to give up your life. What does Bechol Nafshecha mean? So Ramban says, Yeh Bechol Tosefes. The word Bechol would just be a stylistic addition to be symmetrical with the Bechol Levavcha and Bechol Me'oidecha. Mimnei Sha'amar Bechol Levavcha, Bechol Me'oidecha, Amar Gamkein, Uvechol Nafshecha. V'tamoi, and what the pasuk is saying is, Shetai Ahavenu Bechol Nafshecha, you should love God with all of your soul. Shetitein Oisa Ba'ahava, so you should give your soul in love of God. Or Bechol Nafshecha could mean that affliction or loss of a limb could mean part of a soul. Oy shenikra hayisura, in affliction, oy hoivar or a limb, chatzi and nefesh could refer to a part of a soul. Uvahariga, and dying, murder, yoimar b'chol nafshecha, that refers to one's entire soul. So yisurim or avarim is chatzi nefesh, and hariga is b'chol nafshecha. Okay. Rabbi Avraham Amar, Rabbi Avram says, Ki nafshecha hamasava, the opposite of how the Ramban interpreted the Sifri. The Sifri learned, Levavcha is desire, nafshecha is seichel. Rabbi Avram Ibn Ezra learns, Ki nafshecha, nefesh refers to taiva, hamasava. Kamay, Ki nafshecha savecha, as your soul desires, or nefesh seveya tavos noifes, a sated soul tramples the honeycomb, or al titneni benefesh sarai, do not give into the desires of my enemies. So, according to the Rabbi Avram ibn Ezra, nafshcha refers to desire, uvechal levavcha, and all your heart, hu hadas, that refers to your mind. Your heart refers to your mind. So, isn't that interesting? Your heart refers to one's mind. V'hu kinoi l'ruach hamaskalach. Maskalas. The heart is a appellation for the thinking spirit. Ki hi hamerkava rishainalai. That is not literally where the brain is, but it is the mind's first chariot. V'chamayu, and likewise, chacham lev yikach mitzvahs. A wise-hearted man takes mitzvahs. Or perhaps the Ramban could have given an example. Uvelev kol chacham lev nasati chachma. Now, udevarai karov befeirosh b'chol levavcha. A support to the interpretation of Rabbi Avram Ibn Ezra is in the next Parsha, in the next pasuk. It says, "V'hayu hadvarim ha'ela asher nechuzam al levavacha." These words should be on your heart, meaning you should think about them. So that supports the notion that b'chol levavcha refers to one's mind. Many years ago, I once asked Harav Avigdor Miller Zechat Tzaddik Livracha, along the lines of this Ibn Ezra, why does the Torah refer to one's mind as the heart? Uvalev kol chacham lev yikach mitzvahs. Or as the Ramban cites, chacham lev yikach mitzvahs. And Rav Miller said because thoughts in and of themselves are very fleeting and are very nebulous. The Torah gives credence to thoughts when you have emotions regarding those thoughts, when those thoughts become realities of existence to a person. When the heart gets beating about a certain thought, that thought has standing in the eyes of the Torah. Okay, and let us examine how the Ramban interprets uvechol me'oidecha, with all of your alat. With all of your alat. Says the Ramban, v'tam uvechol me'oidecha, the meaning of uvechol me'oidecha, kolaymar, me'oid ma'oid. V'chol ma'odecha doesn't mean, and love him with all of your, whatever ma'od means, but it means, v'chol ma'odecha, it means very, very much. In other words, v'ahavta Hashem your God, b'chol levavcha, with all your heart, v'chol nafshcha, with all your soul. How much? V'chol ma'odecha, very, very much. V'hatam rav ehoi v'osai. The meaning is, you should love him greatly. However, according to the opinion of the Chachamim in Brachas non daled, uv'chol me'odecha, with all your money. Now, why is money called ma'oid? Says Ramban, V'yikarei hamamayim ma'od. Money is called much. Ki yechana oisei b'ribai. The appellation associated with money is multitude. K'maisha karei loy hamayin. Sometimes money is referred to as multitude. For example, in Tehillim, Toiv ma'at la tzadik. A little bit of money is good for the tzaddik. Me hamoin risham rabim. Then the multitude of money of the wicked. Here we see the word multitude is used to describe money, or hinam kechol hamoin Yisrael. They are like all the produce or livestock of the Jewish people. Here too, possessions are called multitude. Or another word used to describe money is amassing. V'yikarei chayil, it's sometimes called gathering. For example, Yisu al kesef ayorim cheleim, which means they carry their gathering upon the shoulders of the donkeys. The money is called their gathering, or that's what people have a tendency to do. Or chelcha chol oitzroisecha, which means you're gathering all your treasures. Or asalias hachayil hazeh has made for me this gathering, this abundance of money. Yoimar b'chol riboy mamaincha, which means that love God with all your abundance. Abundance refers to your money. V'chamayu, a similar scenario. Asher shavel Hashem, it says about Yoshiyahu that he returned to God b'chol levavai u'b'chol nafshay u'b'chol ma'oidai. So, according to the first interpretation of the Ramban, this would mean he returned to God with all of his desire and all of his seichel, and he did it very, very much. But this interpretation is u'v'chol ma'oidai. V'chol ma'oidai means he did it with all of his money, because he spent his own resources to be able to return to God. And his nadva, because of his generosity, be'inyan biur avodah zarah, in eradicating avodah zarah, uve'inyan pesach, and in bringing the carbon pesach. Now here the pasuk says you should love God, and one should do so with all of b'chol lev, b'chol nefesh, b'chol ma'odai. What does it mean to love God? Says the Ramban, V'inyan ha'ava, the subject of love, bi'aru Isur Rabbi Seinu our Chachamim have explained it. V'ha'mefoyrosh b'divrayim, that which is clearest in the words of the Chachamim, Mimnei she'amru b'sifri, it says in the Sifri, Shema Taimar, lest the person say, Harini lamei Torah b'shvil she'ekra chacham, I'll learn to be called a wise person, b'shvil she'eshev b'yeshiva, so I should sit in the yeshiva and be recognized, or b'shvil she'arach yamim, so that I should live long, b'shvil she'ezkel olam haba, so I should have a big share in the world to come. These are all ulterior motives. Talmud loimer la'ahava. Ahava means not to serve God for ulterior motives. So if one should not serve God for ulterior motives, why is Moshe Rabbeinu constantly promising the Jews a good afterlife or punishment if they don't serve Hashem? Shouldn't we serve Hashem just out of love for Him? Va'ashar amar lahem Moshe tamid, and that which Moshe always says to them, L'man yitav lecha, that it should be good for you, L'man tarach yom, that you should live long, or U'leman tichyon, so that you should live uvasem, and you will come be rishtem esa aretz. But that's not serving God out of love. The answer is, in the Ramban, in the first answer, that the Moshe Rabbeinu is not saying you should not serve God out of love, but he's threatening them that if they don't, there will be punishment. In other words, if Moshe says things will be good for you, you will live long, you will inherit the land if you serve God, then we could infer that if we don't serve God, things will not be good for us, and we will not live long, and we will not inherit the land. Yazhirim biyira al derech hatoichachos. He warns them through fear, by way of rebuke, loimer, to say shem yachatu, that if they sin lo yishu asarts, they will not inherit the land. Oy lo yarichu yamim, they will not live long. Aleh. Oy shehach, or the first answer of the Ramban is addressing that people on a lower level also need to have this other system of serving Hashem, namely out of fear. And the Ramban then adds, even a pious person also must serve God not only out of love but out of fear as well. Or even a pious person must love God but also fear Him. Like the Yishalmi says, serve God out of both love and fear. Serve God out of love. This way, if you ever have feelings chas v'shalom of sinah, you'll say to yourself, a oyev does not hate, and serve God out of fear. Shembasa livait. This way, if one comes to rebel, al tivait, he cannot rebel. This is already explained in the words of the sages. So these are a few thoughts. A, Shema is a clarification of the mitzvah of Yichud Hashem. B, the definition of B'chol Levavcha, U'B'chol Nafshecha, U'B'chol Me'oidecha. We have the opinion of the Ramban that Leiv refers to Taiva, Nefesh refers to Seichel. We have the opinion of the Chachomim that Leiv, that Nafshecha refers to one's life, and the opinion of Rabbi Avram Ibn Ezra, Nafshecha refers to Taiva, Levavcha refers to Seichel. Me'oidecha either means one should do so very, very much, or with all of one's money. One should love Hashem, meaning serve God altruistically, but not for ulterior motives. Although one always has to have Yira Shamayim as well. Wishing everyone a wonderful week and a wonderful Shabbos Nachamu. Haba Alinu L'Taiva.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.